Hey, how you doing? I'm Freewell in Franklin. I work at KPFA Full Circle, and I was really bummed out myself to hear about some of the board members would not pass a resolution in support of journalists who are attacked by the police, myself in particular. And it's a little frustrating because I've been following the Antioch police closely now ever since I was attacked in 2009, and have worked really hard to organize in Antioch, and to not only organize, but I think what KPFA partially is known for is that a lot of us are on the front lines doing the work of protesting, of demanding new legislation, and a lot of times it does bring us in close interactions with officers where I do bring my handheld recorder and my cell phone. And KPFA has used a lot of my work, not only on the show I work on, Full Circle, but also on the news, also on Flashpoints, Law and Disorder, Up Front. Many shows on KPFA have used my work. So it's really frustrating me personally about some folks on the board that are not as supportive. And I'm here today not only for this rally, but I got to pick up an official KPFA press pass, which to me is at least a little bit of acknowledgement that they appreciate the audio that I gather, the work that I do in the community. And they're supporting me from the news department this way. This was issued by Christina Onnested, and I told her how much I thank her for this, so I can continue to do my work. And if I am getting pushback from local authorities, police, sheriffs at the courtroom, that I do have an official press pass from KPFA, not just my homemade one that I made to get myself into places where I can. So I hope everyone can support the Rescue Pacifica group in the upcoming KPFA elections. I am currently an elected local station board member. I was elected by the staff inside the station, which again to me showed that my work is important and that they have faith in me. I wish the actual local station board did. And what also frustrates me about the board is that I feel like the majority at this time is not even willing to work or compromise with us, the smaller minority. And Zoom has, to me, enabled their ability to silence me. I haven't been able to really speak and share my thoughts at a local station board meeting in some months. And it's frustrating me. So we need to have a strong board that's collaborative. One group is not going to solve the problems of KPFA or Pacifica. We need all our minds put together, and we got smart people on the board. We just need to all work together and go in the right direction. Thank you all.
What's your vision of what KPFA should be?
I feel like we should get back to more community-based reporting and journalism. Not to use myself for an example, but I would like to use myself at this moment because, when I can gather sound and get out there into the streets in sometimes close proximity to law enforcement and protesters, I think, that's some of the news that we need. We had Ann Garrison, who was on a trip to Africa, award-winning journalist. How many times was she on the air on the news reporting about what's going on over there? How many times has she been brought on recently to talk about what's happening in Niger and the other places? So community-based journalism, community-based programming, as well as some of our intellectual shows. I just believe we need a more broad-based approach. And I know we're struggling financially, so ideas for financial gain would be to start having more in-person events, the speaker series, stuff like that. Maybe a concert. We used to do Power to the Peaceful, which I know a lot of people appreciated. I really like to be part of Power to the Peaceful. I wish we could bring something back like that. And I guess that would be it for now.
Glad that Frank was able to be here because the struggle to defend Frank Sterling and other journalists, Julian Assange, Mumia, Abu-Jamal, you would think there would not have to be a struggle here at KPFA to defend Frank Sterling, KPFA's own journalist, but there was, because the local station board, that quote, the protectors refused to pass a resolution calling for the police, Antioch police, to drop the charges against Frank Sterling. Now, how could it be that a community radio station would have to have a fight over demanding that the charges be dropped against a KPFA reporter who's reporting on the Antioch police. It's astounding. I mean, and at that board meeting, they were angry that we even brought it up to drop the charges against Frank. And some of the members, like Sharon Adams, who's one of the protectors, said that she had read a publication in Antioch that said that Frank was responsible for being arrested, that he had attacked the police and he was really an activist and he should have been arrested. And, she's a lawyer. She's a patent right lawyer. So here you have a member of the protectors on the KPFA local station board actually saying the arguments of the police about why Frank should not be defended, why the station should not say drop the charges. We have to defend Frank. We have to defend all journalists. Journalists are really under attack in this country. And we also, Rescue Pacifica also put forward a resolution to defend Julian Assange, to call for his freedom. Even though The Guardian and the New York Times are calling for the freedom of Julian Assange, because they know if he's convicted of espionage, every journalist could be charged. These newspapers could be charged. And KPFA rejected it, and it was passed by the Pacifica National Board. But why would you have to go to the Pacifica National Board to pass a resolution to call for the freedom of Julian Assange? The same for Mumia Abu-jamal. We introduced a resolution to free Mumia Abu-jamal. And unfortunately, again, the protectors said we can't pass that resolution. We oppose that. It was passed by the Pacifica National Board. So you have to ask yourself, what is going on? A community radio station, public community radio station that calls itself Vigilant for Justice, can't defend journalists here and around the world who are fighting for justice, for freedom, to get the truth out. That's part of the problem.
Thanks, Steve, for kind of triggering my memory. I will say this in one last thing about the case in which some of the local station board wouldn't support the resolution. The judge found that all our charges are now dropped. And many of us, well, 2 out of the 3 that were arrested that day have civil lawsuits moving forward with the Antioch police. So again, I feel like when they wouldn't support the charges being dropped, the charges were ultimately dropped, and we are moving forward with civil litigation. Myself and, of course, as Steve mentioned, the Antioch police are under serious investigation with many officers being arrested in an FBI raid recently. And a lot of those text messages that came out in their text message scandal targeted us, the protesters, and referred to some folks in our group. I can't even use the words that they used, but they used her nationality and sexualized her as a protester. And she was probably 19 at the time. So these are the kind of things that the officers were doing, along with their other violence and racism that they spouted freely in their text messages. But again, all of our charges have been dropped, whether the board supported that or not, and we are pursuing civil litigation against the officers and what they did, not just to me when they tasered me that day when I was not resisting arrest, but what they did to many others throughout these past decades, and why we've all been out there protesting, myself for 14 years. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And I'm glad we have some free speech here in front of KPFA because at least it's going to go on YouTube. People can watch it and get the direct presentation of the people that are involved. And we also have to say we're in an election now. You wouldn't know it at KPFA that there's an election for the local station board. Why don't you know it? That's a question people have to ask. Why don't they know there's an election? One of the reasons that they don't know it's an election is there are no radio carts on the air of the candidates. In the past, KPFA used to have radio carts of the candidates, and they'd mix them up so you could hear the candidates, what their views were, short minute, 2-minute statements. Yet the manager of KPFA, they're not interested in it. The protectors aren't interested in having candidates' voices here. They're doing it in WBAI in New York, and they're doing it at KPFK in Los Angeles. They're having candidate statements. Why can't KPFA have candidate statements? That's a question we have to ask. Well, they're running. The protectors are running, and there are about 8 or 9 of them. But unfortunately, the station management really does not want people to know that there's even an election. I'll give you an example, because last week there was a candidates panel on in the afternoon, which is good. It's good that there are a candidates panel, but there was no announcement about this event on the air. It wasn't on the KPFA website. It was like a secret. All of a sudden, we're going to have the candidates. Now, what kind of operation is this? Here, this station has tremendous reach. It could have had carts on the air saying you can listen to the candidates. Here they are. You can ask questions. People can call in and ask questions. Is this so radical? This is called democracy. I mean, there was just a debate, an election, or a debate of the Republicans. You know, people knew about it. They announced it. Here at KPFA, we're having a local station board election, and you can't even hear the candidates. That's not democracy. That's not community radio, and that's the corporatization of Pacifica. And it's election suppression. The other thing that happened is the Pacifica National Board voted to change the terms from 2 years to 3 years for the candidates. Now, we have to ask, in the middle of an election, why would you change the terms? We believe it's illegal under the bylaws to change the terms of the election, even as the election is taking place. So you have to ask, why would the Pacifica National Board and the protectors change the terms of the candidates for this upcoming election? Very strange. In the middle of an election, you change the bylaws, and we think it's illegal, it's improper, but it's another reason we have to have a change on the KPFA Station Local Board. The Station Local Board only meets once every 2 months. It should meet monthly, and also they have town hall meetings that nobody knows about. They're required under the bylaws to have town hall meetings. They have these town hall meetings. They don't even announce them on the station. They don't even put them on the website. So, I mean, what kind of community town hall meetings? So what we want to do is have community town hall meetings, not in Berkeley, not in Oakland, but we want to have them in Central Valley. We want to have them in the North Bay. We want to have them in the Peninsula. We want to have them in San Francisco. Let's make this a community station that has voices from people all over. And we want to have news bureaus. There should be a news bureau in the North Bay. There should be a news bureau in Antioch, so we can get the information in local news. And we can do that. There are a lot of journalists who would like to help produce things for KPFA. Under the present structure, they're not able to do that. There's so much news going on in the South Bay. We just had a candidates forum there. The only physical candidates forum that has happened in this election is in San Jose, that was held this past weekend, called by Rescue Pacifica. Now, why wouldn't they want to have physical candidates events where people from the community can come? Another question. I mean, we want to have people speaking out. This station is like a morgue here. It's quiet. Nobody goes in. Nobody goes out. I mean, it used to be buzzing. It used to be active. There used to be young people in the station. That's not what's happening now. And we think that has to change. This is a vital broadcast center. We also are in favor of more video programming. They could have a channel, KPFA streaming channel. There are 2 digital channels they could have at this station that would allow rallies, press conferences to be held. We need to have these struggles that are going on in the Bay Area nationally live. And we want to do this for Pacifica as well. We want to have a national live channel where if there's a rally in Washington or in Antioch or in Houston where they're trying to take over the public schools and get rid of black educators and black education, if they have a press conference, put it on live nationally. I remember having a discussion with the previous manager Quincy, and I said we should use this other channel to cover the rallies, conferences that are happening. I said, like C-SPAN. So, you know, C-SPAN, and so he poo-pooed that. Without C-SPAN, forget the C-SPAN. Well, C-SPAN has 7 or 8 million viewers. Think about that. If Pacifica had 7 or 8 million viewers, we would be a tremendous force, much more than we are now. So we need to, that could be a very valuable tool to get voices out, to get conferences out, which are happening all over this country and internationally. Those are some of the things we can do now. We don't have to, it's not a big cost to have that, because a lot of these conferences are already streamed. They're already on YouTube and Facebook. So why not have them on a digital channel? Why not have them available? Publicize them on the website. You can announce it on the air. You want to listen to this conference? Here it is. But that means kind of an activist community radio station. But that's exactly what we think will turn the tide, get people involved. A lot of young people don't listen to radio. They're looking at their cell phones. They're looking at video. We want to get them involved in producing and showing the struggles that they're in. And on Labor Day, we want to announce in San Francisco, there's going to be a Labor Day rally at the Cruise autonomous vehicle car. It's at 530 10th Street, and that's another issue. I mean, the Cruise and AI is being used to destroy workers. They're getting rid of all the taxi drivers. They're getting rid of all drivers, and the actors and actresses are on strike. The writers are on strike because AI is being used to get rid of labor, to get rid of workers. And actually, Pacifica should be rallying to these struggles because AI is a threat to all working people. If we're going to win them, and we have to have conferences, we have to have about AI, about how workers are being affected by AI, about, we had a program here on Brian Edward Teeger. He interviewed Scott Wiener this week, and Scott Wiener said we need mindful development of AI and autonomous vehicles. Well, as we all know, there's no mindful development of AI in this country. What you have is capitalist development of AI. And the reason they're putting billions of dollars into AI is to get rid of workers, to automate workers. And unfortunately, the California Public Utility Commission has been captured by these tech companies. Gavin Newsom took $20 million from Google in 2020. They have a guy, John Arnold, who's on the board of the California Public Utility Commission, who was a lawyer for Cruise. So how can you have somebody on a regulatory agency who's a lawyer for the very companies they're supposed to regulate? The Department of Motor Vehicles has said that they're not going to test the AI, they're not going to test the autonomous vehicles, they're going to let the companies test themselves. Self-regulation. What is that all about? Well, self-regulation means people are going to be killed probably in San Francisco. That's what the fire chief said. Self-regulation means people are going to die because they're getting poisoned. Yet, do we hear that on KPFA? Do we hear about the corruption? Unfortunately, the corruption that's going on is not being talked about on KPFA because it might offend Scott Wiener, who takes money from the developers. That's really what's going on. Do I say something? I gotta go. Okay, well, I want to thank you all. RescuePacifica.net. We are also going to work. We're also going to work to have some other town hall forums, and we urge you to vote. We urge you to contact us. We want a fair democratic election at KPFA and Pacifica. We also do not want people excluded at KPFT in Los Angeles because they excluded about 5 or 6 candidates, and using this digital technology, a lot of people were prevented from actually running in the election, and that's completely undemocratic. We need to open it up. We need to open up the airwaves, and we have to have a democratic election. So thank you, brothers and sisters.